A wonderful morning to everyone who has joined today. From ManageEngine family, we would like to extend our warm welcome and sincere thanks to all our customers, partners, and users who are interested in our solutions. Endpoint management and security is one of the main focus areas of the ManageEngine. In today's webinar, we will focus on endpoint management solutions, which has different product portfolios under management and security. During today's session, we will be discussing Desktop Central Suite, which has management and security capabilities. Once again, welcome to Desktop Central Training. Let me introduce myself. My name is Cyril Raja, and I'm a product specialist with ManageEngine. I take care of the endpoint management products, including Desktop Central. I am a seasoned technical support engineer, assisting customers in their implementation, consultation, and troubleshooting in case of any challenges. Let's look at the training schedule. We are on week 5 of season 17, which is configuration and its hidden tricks. This is one of the modules of our endpoint management and security suite. We have covered a couple of modules over the past weeks, and we are currently in the last week of this season. In case if you have missed any of our training schedules, you can always view them on the link that is shown at the bottom of the screen. If you are interested in the upcoming training, please use the same link to register yourself. Let's look at the configuration module today. Let me quickly talk about the agenda. We will have an overview of Desktop Central. Then we will be having a look at the architecture behind how Desktop Central works. We will be discussing in detail about agent installation and prerequisites for an agent. With regards to configuration, we will be configuring an IP printer and creating a job as a collections. We will also discuss some of the frequently asked questions with respect to configurations. In fact, even during the training, if you have any questions, please feel free to chat using the chat window. I have an expert panel with me who are ready to answer all your questions. We will be using Desktop Central Servable version 10.0.420 for this presentation. The application supports all the browsers. What is Desktop Central? Desktop Central is an unified endpoint management solution that ensures all your endpoints are secure and enables the user to use them effectively for business. A popular research analyst called Foster defines UEM as follows: product that provide a centralized policy engine for managing and securing employee laptops and mobile devices from a single console. What is UEM Edition all about? In unified endpoint management, you can manage endpoint in a traditional IT management fashion. This includes patch management, application management, configuration deployment, OS deployment, tools for troubleshooting, and day-to-day management activities. Similarly, endpoints can be also managed with modern management. All modern operating systems supports modern management. It supports features like geo-tracking, geo-fencing, managing store application, profile distribution, to enforce restrictions, operating system reset and recovery. Can you guess the popular operating system when I say modern operating system? Yes, it's Windows 10. It's a classic example in which we can manage both traditional and modern management. Desktop Central can manage both the world's traditional and modern from a single console. Hence, with Desktop Central Unified Endpoint Management, you will be able to manage desktops, laptops, mobile phones, tablets, servers, point of sale device, and browsers, all this from a central console. In fact, Desktop Center is recognized for Best Unified Endpoint Management Tool of 2019 as reviewed by customers in Gartner's Peer Insights Customers' Choice Award. We are recognized for Unified Endpoint Management in Magic Quadrant for the second consecutive year. We are recognized for both traditional and modern management. These are the features that you can leverage when you are using Desktop Central as a unified endpoint management solution. We have patch management, which take care of operating system and third-party application patching. We have application management, asset management, and configuration. You can manage other functions, including mobile device management for iOS, Android, Windows, and Chromebooks. Then we have modern management, which is for Windows and Mac machines. You can perform things like geo-tracking, complete or corporate wipe. You can put them on kiosk mode. You can distribute store apps and manage profile distributions. Then we have OS deployment, where you will be able to create a single master image and deploy it to multiple machines. Now, these are the features that are offered within the Desktop Central suite. Let's have a look at the Desktop Central architecture. Desktop Central is a client-server model application and an on-premises solution. You can have Desktop Central hosted in any one of the supported operating systems. This architecture talks about how you can manage the local area network. When it comes to wide area network, you can manage different remote locations from one console. They can connect either over the internet or using a VPN or MPLS connection. For the machines that are present in a remote site, we are connected over a direct internet connection. You can use a component called as Secure Gateway Server. A secure gateway is a server that bridges the agent traffic to the central server securely when they connect over the internet. When it comes to remote locations, we have a component called Distribution Server, which is used to throttle the bandwidth for the data traffic between the central server and the remote location. We will talk about this in detail as we go into the training. We can choose to have the machines communicate either directly with the Desktop Central server or along with the distribution server. You will be able to manage all your mobile devices using a secure gateway tool. With Desktop Central, you can manage multiple domains as well as workgroups. You can deploy configuration targeting Active Directory groups or organizational units. So this is the architecture of how Desktop Central works. In terms of closed network, what is a closed network? A network which does not have a connectivity to internet or limited connectivity is called as closed network. Even if you have a closed network architecture, you can still use Desktop Central to manage your endpoints. Desktop Central is also available in AWS Marketplace and Azure. In case you are looking to host Desktop Central in any one of the cloud server, you can use AWS and Azure as of now. We are also working towards offering Desktop Central as a cloud solution. Soon Desktop Central will be available in Zoho Cloud. What are the components that you need to run this application? These are the essential as well as optional components. The Desktop Central server is a central component that you will install. It provides the interface to the management console. The agent is also an essential component. You need this to be installed on the machine you want to manage. There is another component called Notification Server. And this is an interesting component. We will talk more about this once we go into the product. When we look at the optional component, we have a distribution server that serves as a repository for patches, softwares, scripts that you have deployed to machine in the remote office. We can create unique replication policies for each location as per the bandwidth requirement. Then we have the secure gateway server. This is useful if you are going to manage machines that are not part of the LAN or connected over the internet. We also have the failover server. In case if you want to have high availability, you can make use of this. This is separately licensed. Moreover, you can also use a language path to list the web console in your preferred language. We support 3 operating systems for now: Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. Please find the list of supported operating system on the screen. The application runs on the Windows platform, but you can manage the endpoints with Windows or Mac or Linux operating systems. In case you have questions, you can always reach out to support. Please refer to the email address shown at the bottom of the screen. Agent installation method. This is a client-server model, which means you need to have the agent installed in all your endpoints in order to manage them. So to facilitate agent installation, we recommend 3 methods. One is via group policy, startup script in your Active Directory. You can simply download the application, set up and push it using a GPU. We do have automatic agent installation directly from the web console. You can add multiple domains and choose the machines from those domains and push out to the agent to them. We also have scripts that you can use to install the agent. Alternatively, you can download the agent manually and execute the setup directly on the machine. I will show you how to install the agent in detail during this training. Desktop Central can scale small as well as large networks. Using our 90 minutes refresh policy, every agent communicates with the Desktop Central server once in 90 minutes. Even if you have 90 machines or 900 or even 9,000 machines, the 90 machines will be divided between them, and each machine will be given a specific time to talk with the server. The server has the intelligence to assign a time for each client to talk to the server. This is to avoid network congestion or bandwidth related issues. So the 90 minutes refresh policy is designed in such a way that the load to the server will be split evenly. Desktop Central runs primarily on 2 ports, 8383, which is HTTPS, 8020, which is HTTP. All the agents talk to the server using this ports. There is another port, 8027. This is TCP, and it is used by notification server. This port is used for all on-demand activities like initiating patch scan, remote control, etc. We will talk about the use of this port in the upcoming slides. Apart from these 2 ports, there are other optional ports that you need to open. The important ports are listed on the screen. You can keep the respective ports open as per your requirement. There are 2 other ports as well. You can view them using the link that is shown at the bottom of the screen. This will give you a better idea about the ports that are required. Let's move to the topic configuration. Why we need configurations? Desktop Central configuration is helpful for a system administrator to perform day-to-day system administration tasks effectively. And it also helps to protect the network and remediate the computers from data breach and vulnerabilities. Let me go through the agent installation process of the machines in local area network and wide area network. Consider myself as John, and my IT team is responsible for managing 10,000 corporate endpoints, which is segregated over the globe. I'm having a head office in Dallas, which is having around 3,000 endpoints. And I'm having remote offices in London, Chennai, Bogota, as well as in Sydney. I'm not having any office setup. In Sydney, we have 500 users. They will be using VPN token to connect my corporate infrastructure to access the resources. Rest of the location will be connected over a VPN link. Let me move to the console here to explain the agent installation process. This is the Desktop Central UI. You can download the product from our website. You could see the download link in the top right of the screen. Once you click the download screen, you can very well download a 32-bit or a 64-bit version of Desktop Central on it. So it's a simple installation. It hardly takes 20 minutes to install Desktop Central server in your infrastructure. Once the server is installed, you can very well access it with the help of a machine name followed by the port, or with the help of an IP address followed by the port 8383. So the ports 8020 as well as 8383, which will helpful for you to access the console anywhere from your infrastructure. So I have the console ready here. First thing I have to add is to my domain to the Desktop Center. So under the admin domain, I have an option to add a domain here. You can manage multiple domains and multiple work groups with the help of Desktop Center. So in order to add a domain, I need the domain name and the domain admin username and password. So the credential which you are giving here is helpful for the remote agent installation. Once you click add domain, whatever the domains I'm having, everything will be added under the domains option here. You can see list of managed domains in this session. Next thing, I have to remotely install the agent from the console. For that, I'm going to admin, scope of management. In computer session, you'll be having an option to add a computer. Once you click add computer, it will perform an LDAP sync with an Active Directory, and it will come up with all the computer objects in your infrastructure. You can select the computers. In the next tab, you will be having the button to install an agent. Once you click install agent, the credential which I'm giving on adding the domain is going to access the admin $shares of each and every computer and copy the agent installer file from the server to the client and initiate the installation remotely with the help of WMI. That's how Desktop Central install the agent remotely. So once the agents get installed, you can see the status of the agents is turned off or turned down from the screen itself. If the machine is turned on, it will be shown in the green color code. That will helpful for me to perform all the on-demand action from here. So now I install the agents for the machines which is in my Dallas office. Next thing, I want to configure a remote office which is in my London location. So for that, I'm going to the remote office tab here. So I'm having an option to add a remote office. In my London office, I'm having around 2000 endpoints. So if I'm not having a distribution server on my London location, all this 2000 endpoints is going to talk to the Desktop Central server directly to download the patches and software. It's going to cost around, in case if the patch is 1 GB, it's going to cost around 2000 GB of download over the WAN, as well as it's going to reach 2000 times to the Desktop Central server in my Dallas location. In order to avoid it, I can have a distribution server on that particular location, and I can name the distribution server, and you can give the name, IP address on that particular London location. So these are the ports which used by the clients which is under the distribution server to get the patches in it. And also, I do have an option to create a policy at what time the patches and software need to be replicated from my corporate office to the London office. So the London office is just having 1 Mbps band link. So I just define the data transfer rate as 1 Mbps here. So during Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, at these times only, the patches and software is going to replicate from my central server to this distribution server. That's how you can eliminate the data transfer rate in your business hours. So in order to install an agent, we have an add computer session in the remote office session. You can very well click add computers. So it will list out the computer objects which is on that particular location. In case if I have a separate OU on the London location, I can very well select that particular OU. Once you hit save, it will install the distribution server on the machine which is in the London location. And with the help of the distribution server, it's going to distribute the agent to all the machines under 2 it. So that's how you can create a remote office for your remote location. Next thing, I'm going to configure the users which is in the Sydney location. I'm having around 500 endpoints. They are connecting directly to the desktop central server. Instead of choosing through distribution server, the communication time, I'm choosing as a direct communication here. Before that, I have to make sure these machines are reachable over a public internet. So we have a NAT configuration desktop central. You need to have a public FQDN, and these ports need to be advertised to the end user, to the internet to fetch the agent communication. So in order to define it, you can very well go to the admin, NAT settings here. So this is the place I can give my public FQDN here. In case if you don't want to advertise these ports to the internet, you can have a secure gateway in your DMC. So the secure gateway is just going to act like a front-facing server for the desktop central server in your infrastructure. All the WAN traffic is going to route it via the secure gateway server. The ports, 8383 or whatever the ports, which is for communication, is just going to face by the secure gateway server here to the outside part. So that's how I configure a secure gateway here. And then I'm just going to create a remote office for the Sydney location. So again, remote office, add a remote office. So I can go with the direct communication. You do also have an option to create a policy for that particular location. So at this time only the patch is going to replicate from my corporate headquarters to this particular endpoints on that Sydney location. So I can very well add a computer from here. However, I'm not sure at what time the user might be using the VPN to check in my network. At the time, I can use retry agent installation option here. So if you enable this option, Desktop Central is going to try to install the agent for next 6 days with a 2 hours interval. So once the agents get installed, it will automatically send an email to the system administrator. So there's no need to track the agent installation and what are the machine it's missed out here. Once the agent is get installed, it will automatically send an email to you. Likewise, you could get the summary of the agent installation here, how many computer I rolled out the agent and how many of them succeeded and how many of them get failed. Everything will be visible on the screen. In case if you have any doubts, you can always chat with my chat panel. They will help you to address all your queries. So that's how I install an agent on my local as well as the machines in my wide area network. Next thing, I'm going to configure the IP scopes of each and every office. So the IP scopes helpful for me to understand the agent movement from one offices to other office. In case if an employee moves from one location to other location, Desktop Central automatically understood the movement and mapped the machine against to that particular remote office. You can also add an IP scope. You can give an IP range or a subnet of that particular location and get it assigned. If you have the DHCP scopes of each and every office, you can get it added out here. So another advantage of having an IP scope is, in case if a machine is not falling in this particular IP range, Desktop Central has an option to communicate to the WAN agents over the public FQDN, which I marked out under the NAT settings. So that's all. That's also an advantage of having IP scope here. That's how you set up the product in your infrastructure. Next thing, I'm going to configure a printer to a new user in my organization. For that, I'm going to the configuration tab here. In Desktop Central, we have around 32 predefined configuration. You can deploy a configuration for a user or a computer. In Windows, we have 2 types of configuration. If you deploy a configuration through a user, even though the user switches the computer, this configuration will get applied on the system startup. If you deploy this configuration as a computer one, it is limited for that particular computer box. Likewise, we have configuration for Mac as well as Linux too. In our case, I'm going to deploy a printer for a new join here. So I already have a template created for this task. Just define the printer name, the IP address of the printer, and in case if you want to add the drivers along with the printer installation, you can very well add it out here. So this particular employee is in my local office. In case if he is in a different office, you can also mark that particular office location here and just define the username you want to target. In case if you want to apply this configuration on every startup, Desktop Central deploy this printer configuration on every system startup. Even though the employee deleted this configuration, Desktop Central checks it, and the system startup, it will redeploy this configuration for you. And also, you can ask Desktop Central to retry this configuration in case of a failure. And once on the successful installation, it will automatically send an email to the system administrator here. Once you click deploy, it will execute a configuration for me. You can see the configuration status under the all configuration tab. Consider this configuration is get deployed. You can see the execution status here and what is the remarks under it. In case of a failure, it will come up with an error code. You can modify the same configuration and redeploy to the end user. So that's how you install a IP printer for a single user. Now I'm going to configure a printer for a specific group of computer. In Desktop Central, we have an option to create a custom group here. We can have 3 types of groups in Desktop Central: static, static unique, and dynamic. When I say static, your system can be part of multiple static groups, meaning you can have a different group and you can have the same computers in each group. When it's a static unique group, one static unique group cannot be a part of another static unique group. That's the difference. So the same computer will not be in a different static unique group. When it's go to dynamic, you can select or create a group based on the criteria I define here. So in case I want to create a group of whatever the computers which is having Windows 2012 OS on it, it will automatically create a configuration for me. In future, if any one of the machine which is added from the flavor Windows Server 2012, it will automatically create a group for me. So that's how you create a group within Desktop Central. So I have my group ready. Next thing, I'm going to deploy this configuration for a particular group of people here. So for that, I already have a configurations here. So I'm just going to modify the configuration and get it deployed to the end users. So I'm just going to, instead of computer, I'm just going to call the custom group. So I have a manager's custom group here. So this users will be on a different offices. So I'm selecting all the remote offices here. So whatever the remote office it may be, if the person belongs to this particular custom group, will be getting the configuration form. So once you click deploy or deploy immediately, it will create a configuration and get it deployed. The difference between deploy and deploy immediately is, once you click deploy, this configuration is going to reach on the end user's machine in next 90 minutes. If you click deploy immediately, Desktop Central consider this is an on-demand action. All the on-demand action is going to perform with the help of port 8027. So which is helpful for deploying all the configuration in on-demand. So that's how I can deploy a configuration for a particular group of members here. Next thing, instead of creating a configuration and deploying one by one, we do have an option to create a task that will be having multiple configuration and can be deployed to all users in a single shot. For that, we have an option called collection in Desktop Central. You can create a user-based collection as well as a computer-based collection. For example, I'm having a collection task here. So I'm just going to create a baseline configuration for all the users in my infrastructure. So the users should have a specified browser settings and the display configuration, and also a driver need to be mapped, and it should have a specific Wi-Fi profile here. So the browser settings would be the Internet Explorer is my default browser, and I want to access the internet with the help of the proxy. And the security, you do have an option to block or trust a specific site too. And in the display configuration, I do have an option to upload a new wallpaper and get it applied to all the machines in my infrastructure. And drive mapping, I do have an option to add a particular drive on the system startup or during the 90 minutes refresh cycle. You can very well add it out here. And also I can very well create a Wi-Fi profile and I can distribute them. So I have all this 4 configuration created as a single collection. Next, I'm targeting to my entire domain here. So this 4 configuration is going to deploy to all the machines in my infrastructure as a single task. So that's how you create a collection with the help of Desktop Center. Next thing, configuring templates to secure desktop. In Desktop Center, we have templates. So the templates can be a user-based one as well as a predefined one. The user-defined means I have the configurations ready. So I do have an option to save this as a template here. So each time there's no need for creating a new configuration and deploy it. If you have the configuration template ready, you can save it as a draft under the template session. And also we have predefined templates too. In case if you want to auto lock the PCs, you can very well use this templates. And in case if you want to clean up the registry settings, you can use it, and you can use this template to delete the local admin account. So once you click create configuration, you do have an option to modify it. For example, I want to make the timeout as 40 seconds instead of 30 seconds. You can modify it and you can very well deploy the configuration. So these templates will be also helpful for me to deploy in case if I have my Service Desk Plus integrated with this, these templates can be advertised to them automatically. For example, so this is the Service Desk Plus screen. I can see the templates from here. So I can use this templates to resolve the issues. And also if a request comes, for example, a user raised a request to install a new printer in his machine. So I'm going to that particular ticket, and there's the action. I have an option to resolve this request using the template. So you will be giving an option to choose the template you want to resolve it. So this is the machine. I want to deploy this configuration. Once you click deploy configuration, this template will automatically deploy to my end user's machine, and you can very well close the ticket from here. So that's how you can use a template with help of Desktop Center. Next thing, USB device management. In Desktop Center, you have an option to block the USB device access to an endpoint. So here I'm taking a scenario. I'm going to block all the USB devices in my organization, and also I'm going to allow only the managers to use the USB devices, that too only an encrypted device. So we have a configuration for it. So this will list out what are the device types can be blocked within Desktop Center. In case if you have a thumb drive, it will comes under the column disk drive. You can very well use this option to block your USB drives. In case if you want to exclude any particular device instance ID, you can very well add the instance ID here. You can get the instance ID from the device manager. In case if you want to exclude only a specific vendor make, model, thumb drives in your infrastructure, you can give the vendor-based instance ID here. Also, you do have an option to add the encrypted devices. For example, even though it's get blocked, if you have an encrypted device in your infrastructure, you can use this option to use only the encrypted devices in your infrastructure. You can very well add it out here. And I'm going to roll out to the managers group under the configuration. So I can very well target into that particular group. So once you click deploy or deploy immediately, this will create a configuration for me. So even though the manager uses a thumb drive, it should be a encrypted one. So that's how you can configure an USB policy to block for a particular user or a computer with the help of Desktop Central. In case if you have any queries or doubts on the sessions we discussed, we have an expert panel sitting on the next to me. You can very well ask the question. They are happy to address all your queries on it. Next thing, we'll talk about the scenarios and solution in terms of the configuration. We completely rely on Desktop Central for systems management, and we cannot afford downtime. What should we do? Downtime is a major threat for any organization. In the Desktop Central, we have a failover server here. You can configure a primary server as well as a secondary server. If a primary server went down or not reachable to the agent, agents will automatically talk to the secondary server to deploy the configuration. The primary server and secondary server can be deployed in a different location, and that can be shared with an MS SQL database. If an agent is not accessed, can that computer be configured to go unmanaged and free the license? Yes, you have an option to define a policy in Desktop Central to exclude the machine which is not checking in for a particular day. Under the admin scope of management, you have an SOM policy here. You can ask Desktop Central to monitor if any machine failed to check in for n number of days. It will automatically delete the computer from the scope of management and send an email to the system administrator. And it's also having an option to detect the new computer objects. So if a new computer object enters in your AD, it will automatically install the agent and notifies to you. And also in the dashboard, you'll be having an option to see what are the machine which is not reached to the Desktop Central with respect to 3 days or more than 30 days under the agent last contact session here. Scenario 3. Some of our computers go unmanaged quite often. Is there a way to fix it? Mostly the machines may be unmanaged probably because they have stopped, the agent services are stopped by the end users, or the end user uninstalled the Desktop Central agent from the control panel. So in order to restrict it, we have an option in Desktop Central under admin, agent settings. You can very well restrict the users from uninstalling the agent from control panel. And also, you can restrict the users from stopping the Desktop Central agent service. By using this option, it is a global settings. By using this option, you can restrict the user to stop uninstalling the servers as well as uninstalling the agent here. Scenario 4. It is painful to redeploy all the configuration each time we hire a new employee and add a computer to our network. Is there a way out? Yes, it's possible. So as I told earlier, Desktop Central has an option to automatically understood the computer object and install the agent for you under the agent setting. So once a new computer added to my AD, it will automatically install the agent for me. Once the agents get installed, you can ask Desktop Central to deploy the configurations when I target to an OU or an AD group. So whenever a configuration which I target to an organizational unit or a group, Desktop Central automatically install this configuration to the users on the system startup as well as during the 90 minutes refresh cycle. So that's how you can automatically install a computer as well as you can install the configuration on that particular computer. Scenario 5. I want Desktop Central to use the available system resources effectively for improved performance. What should I do? In Desktop Central, we have an option under database settings to optimize the DB. In case if you want to remotely access the DB, you can very well use this option. And by default, Desktop Central having an embedded PGSQL with it. If you want to migrate it to an MS SQL, you can very well use this option to migrate it. And in terms of the DB optimization, in case my computer is having 16 GB of RAM, I only want to Desktop Central to use 50% of it. You can very well do it here. So this will helpful in case if you're having 4 applications of it running on the same server here. Scenario 6. These business data breaches and cyber attacks of fearsome. Can Desktop Central configuration be of some help? Yes, you can do it under the script repository option here. So we have a script repository which is having around 180 scripts. You have an option to add your own script. So you can add, these are the scripts formats which is supported by Desktop Central to deploy. You can use Windows, it's VB or a PowerShell. In terms of the Mac, you can use an SH or a Python script. In Linux, you can use a Bash or a Python script, and you can very well get it upload here. And in case if any one of the vulnerability which affect the internet, we give a customer a ready-made script which will be workaround to resolve this issue. So these scripts can be deployed under Windows, custom script, computer. You can call a script from a script repository, or you can give a command line here and it can be executed from here. So for example, in case I want to deploy a script to block the EXEs in my infrastructure, I just call it out from my script repository. And I can, in case if an end user is not having sufficient privilege to install the script, you can give a technician credential to install the script. So Desktop Central, take this credential and install the script silently on the end user's machine. You can very well target which user you want to deploy or which remote office you want to deploy from here. I need to keep track on asset data even when I am away from my desk. Is this possible? Desktop Central as a mobile app, you can very well download the app from App Store or Google Play. Just configure the mobile app settings here. So with the help of a mobile app, you can very well monitor the asset data's patch deployment and what are the configuration status, succeeded or failed, everything from the screen. So this is the example screenshot on the mobile phones. You can also take remote control with the help of Desktop Central mobile app. Scenario 8. I want to restrict a technician to only access asset data. How can I do it? Desktop Central works on role-based user access. So in case I'm having 5 to 6 technicians in my infrastructure, I want to define a specific role for each and every technician. For example, an L2 technician should want to patch a particular Windows Server machines. And if I have an IT asset manager, I want to define the role that he can able to see only the inventory data of all my endpoints. In order to achieve it, under the user administration, I can create a role, or else we have a predefined role for this IT manager here. So you can very well mark IT asset management. You can create an AD-based user or local authentication. And this user want to manage a particular computer, you can create a group and assign the same, as well as you can map a remote office for that particular user or technician here. So in case you want to delegate a particular remote office for a technician, you can browse the same here and you can assign it to this technician. You can also customize these roles. You can very well add the roles, and you can assign this customized rules to the technician, whatever you're creating here. I want to ensure my user recognize and trust the application. How do I achieve it? Desktop Central, we have an option to rebrand the agent icon, which is visible on the end user screen, which is under the rebranding. So you can very well upload your company logo here. So it will change the logo of agent with your company name. It will not applicable for an agent. It will also applicable for the logon server too. You can very well modify the company logo with the logon page itself. And whatever the changes I upload here, it will also going to reflect on the reports. If you want to export the reports, these changes will get reflect on the same. Let's quickly discuss on the questions. Does Desktop Central allows you to block USB devices for particular IP range? Yes, it's feasible. Under the target option, you have an option to deploy for a particular IP range. So this is one of an example configuration. So I am targeting to a particular IP ranges, just define the IP range. In case if you don't want to install on a particular IP address on this range, you can also exclude it. That is feasible with Desktop Central. Can website security certificates can be deployed to workstation and to multiple browsers? Yes, you can distribute the certificates with the help of certificate distribution option in Desktop Central. You can create a configuration here. You can select which store you want to copy the certificate. You can very well browse it, and you can target the computers on the other end to get this file for you. So once you click deploy immediately, it will create a configuration and copy that particular certificate to this particular store. Some keyboards and monitors have embedded USB ports. Will these ports also blocked with Desktop Central? Desktop Central takes the information from the device manager. Even if they are using it as a part of a monitor or part of a keyboard, Desktop Central consider as a separate device and block it for you. Can the 90 minutes refresh policy be changed? 90 minutes refresh policy is designed to optimize the bandwidth of the reduced network performance issues. So we will not able to modify this because when it goes for a bigger network, 90 minutes refresh policy is a key service to optimize the server performance. However, if you want to deploy the configuration immediately, you can use deploy immediately option to deploy the configuration on demand. How GDPR compliant is Desktop Central? In Desktop Central, we have a DPO dashboard, which will list out what are the machine which is having an antivirus enabled, disabled, the machine which is going to be end of life soon, and how many of them having the patch status, the install and missing one. And under the data security and protection, you can customize what are the data you want to collect and where you want to store it and how effectively you can use it. So you can very well use this option to define these policies. If you configure a set of restriction sites in the collection vita, but don't select a web browser, that does the restriction apply to the default web browser or all the browsers? If I couldn't select any particular browser, it is going to get applied to the default browser on the particular endpoint. How secure is my Desktop Center? In Desktop Central, we have security settings. So whatever the settings which I modify here, it will increase my security score of Desktop Central server. In case if you want to use a third-party certificate, you can very well generate an CSR and submit to the third party, and you can upload the certificate to it. That will also increase the Desktop Central security score, and you can set a complex password here, and you can also enforce two-factor authentication for Desktop Central login. And you can very well remove the default admin account to increase the Desktop Central security score here. Is there a way to optimize the power consumption level in my network computers? Yes. With the help of power management configuration in Desktop Central, you can very well create a power scheme and deploy to all the machines in my infrastructure. You can create a power schema, and or else if you want to delete a power schema, you can very well do it under the power management option here. So here, this is the power management. You can very well create a schema, and you can very well modify an existing schema as well as a delete an existing one. So in case you can very well define at what time the screen you want to dim it or hibernate, you can define it, and you can very well deploy to the machine you want to apply. What happens to the configuration if any of the target computers are down? If you enable the configuration to retry on every startup, Desktop Central checks if a configuration is not present on that particular computer on the system startup, it will automatically redeploy this configuration to that machine. My user has deleted the created desktop shortcut. Should I redeploy the configuration? Yes, if you have the configuration in Desktop Central as a template, you can modify the same configuration and you can redeploy it. So even though they deleted it, it will redeploy the configuration and get it reflected on the end user screen. If a workstation is not in the domain, can we manage workstation in work groups? Yes, it's possible. You can manage multiple domains and multiple work groups with the help of Desktop Central. You can add a work group and install the agent to it. So the primary requirement is the agent should reach the Desktop Central server to get the patches or software or configurations here. So that's how you address this type of issues. Well, we have completed the configuration training for today. Rate us in terms of 1 to 5, 5 to be the best. And thank you very much for joining the session and taking your valuable time and patience in listening to my training session. I hope this is useful. If you like to have a personalized free demo, please notify my chat panel to schedule it for you. And again, thank you for joining the training session today.